Welcome back, everyone, to Reciprocity Radio. You're joined by myself, Cassie, and my co-host, Maya. And today we're talking about the letter C. If you haven't guessed what it is already, it is circular economy. Now, imagine a world where waste becomes a resource, and that's what we want to talk about today. This is what the circular economy entails, where we're not only taking, making, using, and getting rid of things. Instead, we're focusing on making, using, returning, regenerating, making again, possibly, over and over again in a living, breathing loop. So Maya's going to go ahead and give us a bit more background on what the circular economy really looks like.
Thanks, Cassie. Great intro, as always. I could talk about the circular economy for hours, but today I'm just going to give a brief overview, and then maybe if you guys enjoy this episode, we can touch back on it later. But I love it. I love the circular economy. It is the new way. A circular economy is a system designed to eliminate waste and keep materials in use for as long as possible. So it's a whole new economic system that aims to address overconsumption, waste, and sufficiency. Most of the global economy today runs on a linear model. We extract resources, we make products, and then we dispose of them. However, circular systems break that pattern. Instead of ending in waste, materials are designed to circulate through cycles of reuse, repair, refurbishment, and regeneration. And it's not just about, recycling, it's about restructuring how value is created in the first place, meaning for our things and also for our economy. So there's three core principles that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation describes for circular economy, which is just one resource. There's many out there. They uplift these three core principles, which are design out waste and pollution, keep products and materials in use, and regenerate natural systems. And I think a key concept that comes up again and again in the circular economy is this idea for design for disassembly, or DFD. And that basically just means designing our buildings and our products so they can be taken apart at the end of their life and then reused for either the same thing or for something else. These materials are not locked into waste streams. Instead of asking, how long will this last? Design for disassembly asks, how easily can this be reused in 30, 50, or even 100 years? And we can see this in different case studies. One company that comes to mind is like Patagonia. They have take back programs of once if your jacket rips, you can go and fix it and they'll help you with that. But a company that I recently learned about was Sticka, and they're based out in Denmark, and they make modular kitchens, which would be great to have in like hospitality or even in university housing. So, yeah, it's just ideas like that that shift a product economy to this material flow economy, I guess is what I would say. And that's really cool.
This really reminds me, as most terminology and ideas in sustainability, about how can we mimic nature. So nature doesn't have waste, right? Let's take a forest, for example. A fallen tree could become food for fungi, then feeds the soil, and then you grow new trees. That is the spirit of the circular economy. How can we give life to things that we are trying to dispose of that could possibly be used in a different form? And that's almost considering waste as energy, Maya. To me, when you were describing it, I was thinking like everything we throw away is really just a resource we haven't figured out the value of yet or how to put value to it. So I love that. The description really simplifies it, and there's a lot of really great efforts of this, taking waste and making it a resource, making it a form of energy in our world. And it requires a lot of innovation. And so, yeah, if you have more examples, Maya, I would love to dive into what real world examples we've got going on around circular economies.
Totally. To really understand why we're even talking about the circular economy, I think we need to talk about the problems that kind of contribute and brought up this need for a new economy. Waste is a design flaw, and I think once we start thinking of it as a design flaw, then we can start fixing it instead of it kind of being like this cradle to grave life cycle. It can be cradle to cradle, and we can see it in different types of industries. The two industries that really illustrate this waste problem well are fashion industry and construction, specifically fast fashion. You know, the global fast fashion industry has become a masterclass in speed. They're just constantly throwing out new things depending on trends. And companies like Inditex, which is actually the parent company of Zara and I believe H&M, don't necessarily quote me on that, but I believe H&M as well. They've built enormous success on producing inexpensive clothing that follows these changing trends that we see online. A lot of these companies, they're following trends of high-end brands or expensive brands, anywhere from like Patagonia to Miu Miu, and they're just trying to replicate what has already been done and just kind of make it fast and make it cheap. It's not great because it never lasts long. One of the most famous examples of greenwashing in fashion involves H&M's Conscious Choice. And, you know, the company marketed certain garments as more sustainable, but investigations found that some of the environmental scorecards used to support those claims were super misleading. And you can't really highlight small sustainable features such as like recycled materials in parts of products because it distracts from the larger reality that fast fashion itself is built on rapid consumption and enormous material waste. So the system is in place because consumers keep buying, right? New styles arrive constantly, prices stay low, clothes are worn fewer times and replaced more quickly, but the environmental costs and the social costs are grand. Millions of tons of clothes are discarded every year. Workers are mistreated. And it's not necessarily workers here in the United States, it's workers in developing nations. Many garments to combine different fibers, dyes, plastics, and accessories that really do make recycling and just keeping things circular more difficult or even impossible. And not to mention that they require huge amounts of water and energy and raw materials, and then they also contribute to greenhouse gases. So, really, in general, the fashion industry needs to fix itself and try its best to become part of the circular economy. And we need to figure out what we can do with our textiles to make them to like reuse to have them be reused and actually stay functional, which is a big argument in the circular economy as well. It's like, well, things lose function every time it goes through the loop. Yes, that's true, but that also shows a gap that needs to be filled with innovation. And that is a call to us, a call to you to maybe innovate and think of cool business ideas that can make you a lot of money and while being environmentally and socially friendly and sustainable. That's what really the circular economy is trying to combat is just all this waste and knowing what's sufficient as well. Sorry, babe, you don't need 5 to 10 black tops. You just need one. And truly, we all are part of these groups of people and communities and friends. Like, girl, just go to your friend's closet, or boy, just go to your friend's closet and pick out what you want. I'm sure your friend will let you borrow that. And how fun is that, you know? Instead of your sister throwing away or your sibling throwing away a piece of clothing, like go shopping in the closets that you already have. I do that with my mom. It's awesome. I like take all of her clothes, but it's clothes that she doesn't want anymore and she was going to throw away or donate. So I'm like, I'll take it. Like that is participating in the circular economy. You don't need to go and drop bands on a new wardrobe every month.
Do you remember how fun that clothing swap was when we're working together and it was just like friends of friends and we were all trying clothes on together, putting outfits together, and it was just so satisfying to see like an article of clothing that was beloved to us, but then be something new to a girlfriend. And every time you saw her at work or out and about somewhere, sport in your used garment, it just gives a new life to it and a new appreciation for something that's as simple as a sweater.
I mean, I still have Jordan's Air Force Ones. I still wear them to this day. And this clothing swap, mind you, happened like 3 or 4 years ago now.
hmm
And oh my gosh, yeah, I remember like you took one of my skirts and then wore it on your birthday. I was like, that is a present to me to see that you're like wearing my clothes,
Thank you, thank you.
you know?
No, it was so special for sure. I remember I wore that for my birthday, and like even like remember, I don't know if you still have that big crocheted sweater from Tonlay, but
Oh, I sure
yes, I
do.
love that sweater. It's
I
so
love it
good.
too.
Like if I decide to buy something even at the thrift store, I have to ask myself, can both myself and my partner wear this item? And we're lucky, like we kind of, not that we have the same body type at all. Like he is a little string bean and I am a curvaceous Latina, but we have figured out like, oh, this is the size that fits both of us. Cool. And so yeah, a couple points there, but that sweater is amazing too because it was made out of scraps that was just inevitable waste from fast fashion that just ended up in a semi landfill, but it was just filled with fabrics and garments that was just going to sit there and pile up in, a community in Cambodia. But instead, this person decided, let me try to put circular fashion and economy to the test. And what does that really look like? What can we make out of this? And that also reminds me of the company Precious Plastic that I just turned you on to, Maya, but they were doing a cool like sustainability seminar here at my university at CMC, and they're awesome, right? It's an open source machines for recycling plastic into new products, point blank. We're taking waste, making it into a new product, and cultivating circularity through it. And it's all about the awareness, right? Like plastic is a pollutant in so many ways on our planet. And it's one of the things that takes a long time to decompose. It's fantastic for what it was created for, mostly in the medical field, you want sanitation and you want things that, you are going to take and dispose of for sanitary purposes. And it's all about thinking of how can we use this sustainably? And so they're a really great company. I recommend anyone listening to check it out. Precious Plastic. I believe that they are trying to make it like a planetary initiative. And so it's really just, plastic recycling system that breathes life into our waste, and the things that they create are absolutely incredible. I know they went out to Hawaii and connected with the communities that end up receiving the waste and the plastics that end up on their beaches from, you know, I forget what it's called precisely, but the island of plastic that we have sitting out in the middle of the Pacific ends up through currents, ends up dumping a lot of that waste onto these beaches. And the whole point is not to have this team come in and gather these materials and make their own thing. They worked with the community to show them how to gather these products that were rolling up on their beaches, how to give them a new life, and ask them, what do you need in your community? Do you need a new bench in a communal area? Cool. So let's make a bench out of this material. And that's just what they did. And I really think that that's a beautiful example as to the possibilities and the innovation that and the creativity, right? Like it encourages creativity. The people that are experiencing plastic pollution can then be the designers and the creators of their innovation that is in their community with using something that is detrimental to their environment. And I know that there's tons of initiatives out there. So if you don't know about them, research. I'm sure there's tons that is happening in your city, in your community, and if not, look on the global scale.
I remember like looking them up and I was like, whoa, like they literally, so it's cool, this company or organization, Precious Plastic, not only do they show you kind of how it works, everything is freely available. It's really interesting to think about. You could even just make a clipboard and then sell that clipboard on Facebook Marketplace. Like, there you go. That's a revenue stream that you got. That's a business that you have going now. It can even be brought onto like a corporate strategy scale as well. I know that Adidas, I'm not sure if they still have this partnership, but I do remember them partnering up with Parley for the oceans. And that was to transform ocean plastic into athletic products. So the partnership helped kind of demonstrate that like waste can become valuable resources again when companies redesign their supply chains around recovery and reuse. And, no single partnership solves the entire plastic crisis that is happening in our oceans, but it does show, how corporations can influence material flows at a global scale. So I mentioned in the beginning that construction is also a really big wasteful industry. And right now in the built environment, I know that they're really trying to bring in circularity. It's responsible for some of the largest and heaviest material flows on the planet. And again, it follows this traditional practice of extract resources, build, demolish, dispose. And so concrete, steel, glass, and wood end up as waste when buildings reach the end of their lives. And in many cities, construction and demolition waste represents one of the largest waste streams in the entire economy. And one reason is that buildings were never designed to come apart. They weren't designed for disassembly. Materials are glued together, permanently fixed, or assembled in ways that make recovery super difficult. And so when demolition happens, materials become trash and waste and landfill rather than resources for future project. I'm always going to point to Denmark because they're doing a lot for circularity in the built environment. But I remember going to this one demolition headquarters. It's called Sharing. It's a Danish word. It's Tschernering, but I think it's pronounced sharing. It was such a cool site visit because it demonstrates how demolition materials can become material waste. Their headquarters was built from demolition waste. Instead of treating old structures as just wasteful, they recovered and reintegrated it into their new headquarters. And I thought that was really cool to see that in a building. We can even see circularity on a government scale as well. And with our built environment, those two things can like totally intersect in a way that supports the circular economy, just building it into our infrastructure, like having recycling centers integrated into communities, material recovery just being totally normalized. Waste sorting is taught at a very young age. Urban planning just prioritizing adaptive reuse in these multifunctional buildings. And all of these sustainable choices make it a lot easier to participate in the circular economy as a government, but also as individuals. And it incentivizes businesses to do the same. Stryker, they're in the healthcare sector. Healthcare is super wasteful as well. But Stryker is basically like remaking or remanufacturing and repairing old medical devices to be used again, so we don't have to just keep making new and new ones. I think it's really important to recognize that the circular economy, we are still trying to catch up in our innovation so that we can fully have it integrated. But right now where we're at, we have to like meet reality where it's at. Right now, it's more about how many times can this product be kept in loop versus just thrown away. And yeah, it's not about perfection, as Cassie will tell you. It is more so on just like focusing on designed to help circularity practices become standard.
Yeah, we need it to be more commonplace. Like it takes just as much, if not more, energy to be destructive than to create things. And, instead of completely demolishing spaces, for example, in the construction world, how can we harvest materials so that they can be utilized? And it's that mentality, that shift in narrative and thinking about the world around you. Every building that gets demolished could be an opportunity for harvesting these materials to give them new life. So the more we can let up on these systems and say, hey, yeah, we can absolutely take, let's say, old timber and brick, tile and copper wires. How could we reinvest them into the same spaces? That's really what we're going for here. It's not only within these large industries like construction and fast fashion that we see that circularity can be super beneficial. It's in the food that we eat, it's in the plastic bottles that some communities inevitably have to use. There's a lot that we can restructure and reframe um, in order to transition waste back into a resource. We can shift an entire economy globally by shifting waste to a resource or a form of energy that we can continue to use for lifetimes.
At this
And
point,
then
like the waste on our planet is basically like a renewable resource. The amount of waste that we have, we can turn it, like you said, into energy, into like new things. Instead of having this scarcity mindset that you're kind of like alluding to, we should have this like mindset of abundance.
let's think in a circular mindset. And you don't have to do it all. You can pick one thing and set and find what resonates with you the most. Maybe it might be your food scraps that you're just realizing adds so much to landfills and doesn't decompose in the same way. What can you do with that? If you don't have a composting center around you, maybe you can gather some friends and decide to compost together. And there are different ways to do that, right? You can do it on a small scale or a large scale, and then use it to feed your garden and feed yourself with that same thing. It's just about finding what really connects with you and being able to support repair and bringing your own containers to events and to your local coffee shop. You know, do a little bit of planning so that you can make the most of the resources around you and not need to constantly create waste, even. That's even a start. Just lessening the waste that you create could be a great way to get started in the circular economy.
Yeah, please like do what is most natural to you and what incentivizes you. We don't need everyone in the construction or built environment figuring out circularity. Like we need some circularity heads over in the healthcare industry. We need them in the food industry, agricultural industry. We need them everywhere to be like, how can we take what we're wasting and put it back. So, one, we're not extracting more resources and spending more money, but, just also helping our environment and just becoming more sustainable. Circularity is about people. I mentioned that many developing nations currently absorb the consequences of global waste streams through textile dumping, informal recycling centers, and hazardous waste processing. And a true circular economy has to consider the social justice alongside environmental outcomes. That is like a truly sustainable and holistic approach. So we ask these questions again of who benefits, who bears the cost, who has access to participation. And economic incentives also matter. There's these take back programs that companies are doing, like Levi does that, I believe, and so does UGG. They have like a renewal, like you can send in your UGGs to get repaired, which is really cool. Tacos does the same thing. You can experiment with, either your government or your businesses or even yourself, just like these resource exchanges as well that reward recovery and reuse. So there's so many people, there's so many companies already out there participating in the circular economy. I think it's just people don't really know about it. And we want to bring the circular economy up and give it a platform so we know where to participate and how we can.
Make it a hot new thing to do. And it's not new, right? People did not have all of the amenities and the comforts that we do now, that we are so lucky that we can actually have that thought like, oh, I could just discard this and get something new. Like, wow, power to you. But for me and my family, at least, that's how I was raised. Like, if I'm eating out of a tub of, butter, what are we going to use that tub for? Well, we could put our little nails in there. We could go ahead and organize our drawers by reusing little containers. And I love a little container. I just love the idea of repurposing something. It's really hard for me to see how much waste, even when you're aware and conscious of it, and really try to minimize it. So, really ask yourself these questions like, do I have my water bottle on me that I could reuse? Can I get this secondhand? Like, do I really have to go out and shop at Target today? You might not have to. I always start at the secondhand shops, the thrift shops. Like, I love amping up the fact that I went to the thrift store for my finds, the clothing that you wear, how you repair it, give it away, share it with others, the tools you use. Like, you don't have to buy a drill yourself. You could ask a neighbor or find local spaces that have tools that you can go ahead and use rather than, constantly needing to buy and consume. And, it gets exhausting. I don't know about you guys, but money has always been a sensitive topic. And I'm always looking for ways to cut costs. And even if that's your only purpose, cut costs, put money in your pocket, return things, reuse them, recycle them, upcycle them, fix them, replace it with something that already exists if you really need to. But the point is, how are we sharing our resources? How are we lending a hand? Um, and this really has to do a lot with our physical um, and tangible items. They're what give us the feasibility in this world. In the mountains, if you don't have the right gear, you're kind of, um, SOL, you're shit out of luck in some cases. Sometimes you can't even go and enjoy with your friends. Like I didn't have a bike until a few months ago because I was gifted one that was not going to be in use anymore in my partner's family. And so now to me, I have a mountain bike and I'm so stoked. These are all just examples and we're
And
trying
it
to
was
share with you
free.
guys. I know it's free. And it's amazing. It's a classic oldie and I love it to bits. And it's a great starter bike, and I did not have one. And so that's the difference. You
There's a
can go
lot of like
ahead,
biking companies too that will repair old bikes as
I'm sure. Oh, yeah,
well.
absolutely. And like local, find your local places. There are so many bike people that want to go ahead and make a Frankenstein version out of your bicycle and give you the right parts and, just bring it all together with what you got. Do what you can with what you have around you. You don't really need to look too far.
I think that like that's a great lesson on sufficiency. And to be honest, a lot of Latinos, like our community is just like that. Like I don't, Cassie and I have talked about this a lot, where like our moms, they've both
The most
lived,
sustainable baddies.
they're like the most sustainable baddies. Like my
They didn't
mom,
even know. They didn't even know.
they didn't even know. Like my mom, she grew up like impoverished. And so
Mhm.
she had what she had. So she was like, how did it, like, a crock pot of beans, that is supposed to last a week. And that's like
Mhm.
was sufficient for her and her family. And so
And everyone eats. Everyone has a place at the table and everyone
oh,
eats. It's the
yeah.
best.
And like when especially with big Latin families too, like there's usually like between 5 to 10 kids. And same with
Mhm.
the Irish families too. And my dad's Irish. Everything is a hand-me-down. In my family, everything that I own is a hand-me-down, and I'm the youngest child. So I love going shopping in my sister's closet. I love going shopping in my mom's closet. I love going shopping in my friends' closets because they don't wear that shit anymore and they're excited to get it off their hands and have it not take up space in their closet. So it's also like a reciprocal relationship right there. The whole reason why secondhand stores even popped up on the scene was because we had this abundance of clothing items that people were just discarding. And that is a business idea. That is a innovation in itself that has led to like enormous economic growth in the secondhand industry.
You know, big family comes big love, and it's an expense. You have more than one kid, and that's, I think nowadays it's like over $1 million that you spend on your child from when they're born to when they're 18 to send them off into the world. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of things. And so really bringing it back to the basics, being mindful of everything you consume. To me, one of my favorite phrases in the past few years has been the mindful consumption of all things, right? Hey, if you're thrifting every other time you're shopping and a couple times a year, you're like, I saved up for this beautiful piece of gear, this beautiful article of clothing, this thing that I really wanted. Hey, I haven't had a new phone in 5, 6 years. Okay, everything is okay. But the balancing out of mindfully consuming most of the things that you come in contact with, whether it's your thoughts, whether it's media, food, water, all of the things, let's just take a step before we make that purchase so willy-nilly. And I'm talking to myself first, to be honest. There are tons of things that I could be more circular about. And you know what? As we always say, nearly on every aspect of sustainability, circularity it doesn't equal perfection. It's about participating. Just show up. Just try your best every day with one decision. It could be one decision once a week. That's more than it was last time, and that's what we're looking for. Zero waste doesn't happen from one day to the next, but every single time you choose to repair instead of replacing something immediately, borrowing instead of buying, sharing instead of hoarding a bunch of stuff that you don't even use. You are actively cultivating a world where waste just doesn't exist anymore. You're using all your resources.
One of my friends right now, she's a sustainable baddie as well. Her Instagram handle for her fashion account is Molly B. Macon. And really, it's so fun because what we were talking about earlier, like with the creativity, is that she does thrift flip. So she'll go shopping for, she'll go to a thrift store, see an article of clothing that is beautiful. It's like a beautiful garment or beautiful fabric and really nice material. And she's like, yeah, but this looks like an 80-year-old woman would wear it. Not that that is necessarily bad, but that's not her style. So she remakes it to be her style. And that actually has inspired me. I'm like, I really want to learn how to sew this summer. And so that's a goal for me as well. So when we're asking you guys of these reflections, like please know that we are doing them too. And if you want us to share like how we're doing them, we'll like happily do that. It just cultivates like creativity and community and all of these great, amazing things that are just so important to sustainability.
Yeah, there's this I don't know if I've shared it with you, Maya, but down in Buena Vista, there's a little movement called Repair is Radical, and they get together and they sew together and then like swap like little patterns or little pieces of fabric that they have. And trust me, even a little patch on top of a hole can also have the longevity of those pants, let's say. Just stretch them for a little bit longer. And then you have something so unique because no one else is going to be wearing that. So in the spirit of uniqueness and creativity, like try repairing your clothes and like just see how that feels. And if you don't know how, find out or find someone that's already doing it and pair up with them and do the thing together. It's so much fun doing any of these things together. Talk to your community about what they do to be more circular in their life. What do they do to contribute to that circular economy?
I want to echo something that you said about mindful consumption and how that's played a role in my life. I mean, you gave the example of getting a new mountain bike. I mean, I'm living out here in Los Angeles. I'm gonna be really real with you guys. I've been poor since I moved out to LA, and I haven't really seen my tax bracket has not gone up since I've been here. And my clothes have ripped, and I could not afford to buy new jeans. But living in LA, I walked around in the early morning and people just like leave shit out on their streets. I was like, I really need jeans. And this is my luck, you guys. Like, I'm able to like manifest things that I need, like actually need, not things that I necessarily want, but need, like a new pair of jeans. When I would walk to my job, I saw on the side of the street a pile of jeans from this really good company. And I
Wow.
picked up new jeans and I was like, this is perfect. I didn't have to spend a dime. Sure, I had to wait for it, but it was like it goes on to like this mindful consumptions of things. It's like it could just like fall into your lap a month, 6 months later, like it did for
The
you.
universe provides. Sometimes we're so impatient because we have all of these niceties, right? It's so easy to get whatever you want online on Amazon. It just seems so foreign to me to order whatever you need right then and then it shows up on your doorstep 24 hours later. That takes so much effort. There are so many ways to tap into this energy. And, again, find what resonates with you and do it. Give it a chance, see what could come about from it. Again, none of this is an overnight foolproof endeavor, but you never know what could come about if once you start to focus on the things that you do have control over. Circular economy is really a space where resources can circulate, communities can come together and create and connect. And the earth is treated not as a landfill or a second thought, but instead as this beautiful, life-giving, generous home that it really is meant to be. Let us know how you're tapping into the circular economy. There are things that we don't even know about, but we are keeping our eyes and ears peeled.
I 110% agree. Please, I love the circular economy. As you guys can probably tell, I get pretty stoked about it. So I'm always looking for new ways to be participating in it. So please let me know how I can. And if you guys are looking just like for ideas as well, we have an Instagram page. It's at Reciprocity Lab. We also have a website. It's reciprocitylab.org. And there we repost videos of how to participate in the circular economy, how to just be more sustainable in general. So if you're looking for inspo, look there. And until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, keep cultivating those reciprocal relationships with the world around you, and thanks for caring. Reciprocity Lab is a sustainability collective that aims to connect one another through education, shared storytelling, and community outreach. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us on social media. The links are in our bio. Today's episode was co-created by Cassie Fetchick and Maya Morrissey, with editing done by Maya Morrissey. Artwork for that podcast is done by Zoe Coyle. Until next time, thanks for caring.